Good evening, everyone. It's now been 10 years since Hurricane Rita wiped out much of Cameron Parish.
Some abandoned their homes and left the area, but one group stood their ground and even created a place of worship for others to go. Our Carrie Bill has more on the family that held church services at their house after Rita and still hold Bible study there today.
To us, Holy Spirit, we open our hearts to
Sitting in Grand Lake, it's a house and a place of worship.
Father, that we wouldn't put any of our own perspective or our own.
Do forget the devastation that Mother Nature left behind.
We lost everything. We lost our house, me and my dad.
The landmarks were gone, the trees were gone, or the house that used to be there was gone. You know, the things in our mind that we use as landmarks were no longer there.
But something that was still there?
Let's pray. You want to pray before we get started?
Yes. The human spirit. After Hurricane Rita, Brian Fitkin became a pastor and started having services at his house.
We had family and friends in the area that weren't in church, and we knew that if we started a Bible study, that they would come and we could share the Word of God.
Up to 70 people gathering in their living room at one point. Some, like Jane Connor, drove 45 minutes from Kenner.
It reminded me of how it was in the old days when they first start out in the homes, you know, start churches in the homes and seeing the progression. It's just amazing to see what God's done.
For many, it was a place to feel at ease through the hardship.
I wouldn't trade places with anybody because it's been so enlightening.
It made us feel like we were having a part in people's lives and being able to create some kind of unity in a safe place.
And built friendships with those who entered their doors.
I call Natalie sometimes when I sit there and cry. I just call Natalie on the phone and she'll, to talk to me a little while, and then I'm okay.
Now the services are being held at a church nearby, but Bible study is still held in this home where the unbreakable bonds all started.
I come just about every Wednesday night for Bible studies. I couldn't ask for better friends.
Carrie Beal reporting, KTC TV3.
Here's Rob's 24-hour forecast.
And this is what Hurricane Rita looked like 10 years ago tomorrow. A Category 5 storm barreling down along the Texas and Louisiana coastlines. And at that point, we already knew we were going to have a big surge. We'll talk more about Rita coming up in the next couple of weeks. This is not the right 24-hour forecast. We're going to go with temperatures near 90 tomorrow, but sunny skies in the mix, looking much better as the air continues to dry out. And as we head into tomorrow and tomorrow evening, feeling even better. We'll talk more about that, tell you what's happening currently in the tropics and what we expect coming up into next week, coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Rob, thanks. Parish by parish headlines now. We start out in Lafayette, where Scott police need help finding the person responsible for robbing a convenience store on Dulles Drive. Police say the suspect pulled out a gun and demanded money from the cashier, then drove away in a dark-colored, newer model Dodge Challenger. If you recognize the person on that surveillance camera shot there, call Scott police. Both suspects wanted in a shooting over the weekend in Lafayette are now in police custody. Imani Arsenault is accused of shooting her ex-girlfriend in the arm Friday night. She's charged with 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder. Meantime, the city marshal's office telling us Isis Livings turned herself in this afternoon. She's accused of principal to second-degree murder. Court documents describe the Lafayette Parish man arrested after a 6-hour standoff yesterday as suicidal and also a danger to himself and others. Our investigative team has been digging into Joshua Dore's past. Lafayette police were trying to serve a protective order yesterday to have Dore mentally evaluated. Family members say he's become abusive, had lost his job, and had been abusing drugs as well. Police arrested Dore in July on a number of drugs and weapons charges. He's not expected to face criminal charges associated with the standoff, though police say he could be booked on outstanding warrants.
A Vermilion Parish man is facing charges in Lafourche Parish, where police accuse him of snapping photos of a woman undressing in a fitting room. Aaron Merritt of Abbeville is facing 1 count of video voyeurism. Galliano police say the woman was trying on clothes at a department store when she noticed Merritt taking pictures of her under the fitting room door. The interim mayor of Grand Coteau is now the elected mayor after her challenger is disqualified. Cheryl Johnson has been interim since July. The state ethics board says her challenger, Patrick Richard, owes about $2,600 in ethics fines, making him ineligible to run by state law.
The first woman to serve on the Abbeville City Council has now been laid to rest. Pam Gaspard served a 4-year term on the council from 2002 to 2006. She was former Abbeville Mayor Brady Broussard's secretary for years before being elected to the council. Next tonight, that boil water advisory for the village of Esterwood in Acadia Parish is no longer in effect. That advisory had been issued while crews replaced a broken water line. Attorneys are wrapping up the first day of former Lafayette Parish Superintendent Dr. Pat Cooper's wrongful termination trial. Our Allison Bourne-Vanek is at the courthouse, and Allison, it sounds like it was off to a rough start for Dr. Cooper.
Marcel, several hours of court proceedings today in Dr. Pat Cooper's wrongful termination lawsuit against the Lafayette Parish School Board. First, Dr. Cooper can testify, but not about things that happened after he was fired or about things that duplicate his 2 days of testimony during his termination hearing last year in November. Judge Michaud was also not allowing several witnesses to testify that Dr. Pat Cooper wanted. That includes State Superintendent John White. The objection was that it would be improper to have officials interpret the law, and Judge Michaud agreed. Dr. Cooper also wanted former school board president Shelton Cobb to testify on the board's motivation, but that was denied as well. Both sides argued whether or not the school board was in the right to terminate Dr. Cooper based on him hiring an attorney using school board funds. Cooper's attorney said that it was in Dr. Cooper's contract. The defense disagreed, but the judge made no ruling, and court will proceed tomorrow again at 8:30. Live in Lafayette, Allison Bourne-Vanek, KATC, TV3.
Well, happening tonight, the Acadiana Press Club is hosting a debate between Lafayette City Parish President candidates Joe Robideau and Dee Stanley. A panel of staff members made up of the Daily Advertiser, the Acadiana Advocate, the Independent, and KATC will be asking the questions. You are invited to attend at the South Community College Auditorium on Duval Court Street. The debate starts at 6 o'clock. DOTD is scheduling an open house about the I-49 connector that's planned to run through Lafayette. The meeting is in 2 weeks on October 6th at the Rosa Parks Transportation Center in downtown Lafayette. Officials will present an overview of activities planned for the next 18 months.
Checking state news now, the last member of the Angola Three, still in prison, will appear in a state court for a motions hearing before his third trial for allegedly killing a prison guard. Lawyers for Albert Woodfox are pushing for his indictment to be thrown out. They also want the trial to be moved to a new location and to stop key witness testimony. Woodfox's previous convictions had been overturned, but the state is pushing for a third trial. LSU's use of waivers to enroll students who would otherwise not meet entrance requirements is now under scrutiny. According to documents obtained by the Advocate, LSU granted 65 waivers for the summer and fall semesters. The chairman of the Board of Regents is insinuating the waivers benefit athletes and students who come from influential families. And Lafayette's Mardi Gras celebration is landing the hub city on another top 100 list. The American Bus Association put together a list every year of group travel in the U.S. and Canada, and winners are chosen from hundreds of nominated fairs, festivals, parades, exhibits, theaters, and shows. Lafayette coming in on that list. The decisions are based on broad appeal, accessibility to large groups, and other criteria. No surprise there.
Not at all.
Great time. Great place to be, too. Coming up right here on the news at 5, Pope Francis continuing his trip in Cuba. We'll have his message for the faithful at 5:17.
But first, Rob's full forecast for where you live. It's coming up next.
From the KATC Weather Lab, here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back. Well, a little bit of a front passing through the area today. It should bring us slightly more comfortable conditions, especially at night, but still probably going to hit 90 tomorrow. And the first day of fall, well, it's still going to feel a little bit like summer, but that's the way it normally goes in Acadiana. Now, as we take a look at Power Doppler HD, after some light showers this morning, all actions pushed offshore out into the Gulf of Mexico, and it's light at that. So we take a look at the radar satellite composite. I got it in motion over the last 12 hours. This is how we started the day with some showers, especially across central Louisiana into eastern Mississippi. But as that front moved through, just mostly clouds. Our winds turning around out of the northeast, and that's going to bring in lower dew points and thus lower humidity. So something to look forward to there. Some good weather ahead. Again, you can see most of the unstable weather associated with that front now in the central Gulf of Mexico. Very weak area of low pressure out here in the east central Gulf. We'll keep an eye on this frontal boundary as it continues to drop to the south and head for the Yucatan. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a bit. Do notice some of the moisture pooling down here as well. Meanwhile, the actual tropical action is associated with the remnants of a depression that moved across Mexico, now dumping some locally heavy rainfall across New Mexico, West Texas, portions of Arizona. So this is going to be the weather trouble spot close to home, for at least for us, still 1,000 to 1,500 miles away. And then as we go out into the Atlantic Basin, Ida still out here, out in the open Atlantic, not threatening land, but this system does have an interesting forecast track, moving to the northeast, then to the southeast, then to the northwest, and eventually to the north. It's going to stay a tropical storm. Earlier forecast did give it some hurricane potential as it got into this part of the Atlantic Ocean, but way out there, not threatening land. Now, as we go into next week, starting this weekend next week, the computer models are starting to go for the possibility of some broad area of low pressure developing anywhere from the Bay of Campeche through the northwestern Caribbean, and then a poleward or northward motion as we go into early next week. So check out the article I wrote on KATC.com. This time of year, you do have to keep an eye on this part of the world, and I'll show you the models coming up in later weathercasts. But right now, no major concerns. So that's the good news. So as we look ahead to tomorrow, sunny skies to start the day. That nice breeze out of the northeast. Temperatures in the mid-80s for lunchtime, in the upper 80s tomorrow afternoon. Looks clear for drive time. Coolest air moving in tomorrow night. And then as we head into Wednesday, we'll be watching the Gulf of Mexico for maybe a little bit of a trough out here, maybe shuttling moisture into southeast Louisiana. But I'm going to keep it dry for the most part Wednesday, Thursday. 10% rain chances later this week and more than likely into the weekend. Then we'll be watching what's going on down by the Yucatan as we go later in the week into the weekend. Again, we'll discuss that in greater depth coming up at 10 o'clock tonight for sure. Temperatures mid to upper 60s overnight tonight, mid 60s Cenla. We'll go 68 for Lafayette. Looks to be a good number. Tomorrow, upper 80s to near 90, so still quite warm out there, but at least the humidity will be lower. Tomorrow night should be the coolest one of the week, heading down into the mid 60s, perhaps lower 60s for Cenla for Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday afternoon, upper 80s to lower 90s once again as we head into the first full day of fall. 68 degrees. We got our times of the year and seasons correct. Clear skies, feeling more comfortable out there tomorrow. Comfortable humidity. It will be warm though. 90 your projected high. And as we go into the middle part of the week and beyond, a few more clouds, very slight rain chances, 10 to 20% at best or less through at least Sunday, Monday, and then maybe a little bit more interesting as we go into next week. But for right now, looking pretty darn warm for the third week of September. Fall officially kicking in Wednesday morning at 3:10 in the morning, and it'll be a beautiful 91 degrees.
Yeah, lovely.
Nothing says fall like the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
And still to come, an Acadiana teenager fighting cancer and trying to raise awareness. Micah Hatfield has the story at 522.
But up next, the outburst in a Boston courtroom in the Baby Doe, the Bella Bond murder case. Pope Francis is calling on Cubans to overcome resistance to change. Today's large outdoor mass in eastern Cuba comes on the Pope's third day on the island. He's called on Cubans to serve people rather than ideologies and not close themselves off to others who think differently. Back bedroom.
I hope you rot in hell. I'm leaving. You rot in hell. You f***ing rot in hell.
An emotional outburst in a Boston courtroom this morning. A judge ordering the mother of baby Doe to be held on $1 million cash bond and her boyfriend to be held without bail. Rochelle Bond is the mother of 2-year-old Bella Bond, who was found dead in a trash bag on a Boston Harbor beach back in June. The mom's boyfriend, Michael McCarthy, is charged with killing Bella. McCarthy allegedly punched Bella in the stomach because she wouldn't go to sleep.
Police are charging a father in Raleigh, North Carolina with attempted murder after he allegedly threw his 3 children into a pond last night. Police say Alan Lassiter called 911, telling dispatchers he had just killed his 2 daughters. Officers pulled a 3-year-old and 5-year-old out of the water. The 3-year-old is in critical condition. The 5-year-old listed in stable. A 7-year-old boy was able to get up and run for help. Lassiter's bond is set at over $2 million. A former peanut company executive is convicted for his role in the salmonella outbreak and who will serve 28 years in prison. A jury found Stuart Parnell guilty last year of knowingly shipping tainted peanut products 7 years ago that left 9 people dead and hundreds more sick. Parnell is the first food executive convicted on federal felony charges linked to food poisoning outbreak. The Associated Press is reporting Scott Walker is dropping out of the Republican race for president. Walker has tried to capitalize on his record of taking on unions. His numbers have fallen after a series of stumbles on the campaign trail and his performance in the early GOP debates. Walker joins former Texas Governor Rick Perry as the 2 early 2016 dropouts. And coming up, an Acadiana teenager in the fight for his life, but still fighting to raise awareness of cancer. His story when we return. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and a 14-year-old boy is using his story to bring awareness here in Acadiana.
Yeah, Jordan Bueller from New Iberia was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma earlier this year. It's a form of bone cancer. Our Micah Hatfield tonight has his story.
Last December, then 13-year-old Jordan Bueller fell off his skateboard and developed overwhelming pain in his hip. After going to several doctors trying to figure out what was wrong, he learned he had a tumor on his lower spine. And on March 4th, he was diagnosed with Ewing's sarcoma.
I kind of just broke down. It's really saddening to me.
Even though he's been undergoing chemo, blood transfusions, and radiation this year, Jordan says he likes to think of himself as a normal 14-year-old. His mom, Lauren, says his positivity through it all has been an inspiration to others.
He's always been one to get up and talk to the other kids, find out what their name is, just have conversation with them. And then the parents see how he's been adjusting.
I have no idea why people think I'm an inspiration. I just try to help others through what I'm going through and prevent others from what I have to go through.
Both Jordan and his mom say that while it has been a devastating time for their family, it's brought out a different side of Jordan.
I'm going to look back on it and I'm going to say I changed then, and I'm going to say that was a good change for my entire being.
He should finish up with chemo in the next few months and hopefully beat cancer within a year of being diagnosed. Micah Hatfield, KETC, TV3.
In other news, Iberia Parish Schools introducing a new childhood nutrition program featuring Bestie Berry and her BFFs. The program helps 4- and 5-year-old students become familiar with locally grown and fresh food options and other healthy activities. The program launched today in 4 schools.
We hope that by bringing a fun character to their classroom, that it introduces them to it in a fun and different and maybe a way that they hadn't thought about their food.
And stay with us. Another look at the forecast after this.
Coming up tonight on Acadiana's News Channel at 6, a St. Landry Parish family. Alive tonight, they say, thanks to 3 strangers they're now calling heroes. Their house caught fire. The couple was inside. They were sleeping after working a long night the night before.
the fire was undetected by them. I believe in approximately 5 to 10 more minutes. It was already starting to drop through the ceiling from the attic, the fire, and 5 to 10 more minutes would have been, their exits would have been cut off.
And 3 strangers this couple now considers heroes. We'll tell you at 6 o'clock how the fire department is planning to honor those 3 men. Rob?
And weather-wise, well, here's the real 24-hour forecast. Please stand up. 68 degrees overnight tonight through tomorrow morning, so feeling a little bit more comfortable. And tomorrow, that's a 24-hour forecast most people would like. Comfortable humidity, nice northeast breeze, but still touching about 90 at 3 to 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
I like the other one you
had. The other one
up.
was cloudier, a little bit cooler.
Too, more fall-like.
This is the real weather pattern here, Jim.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
We'll make it.
Okay.
That's all the time we have, everybody, for the news at 5. As always, thanks for joining us.
We'll be back in 30 minutes with the latest news, weather, and sports. Right now, ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. See you at 6 o'clock.